Where was I? Oh, yes. Imagine my surprise when I discovered sitting next to me on the branch, blocking my path, one of the largest yumbotos, or Congolese gorillas, I've ever set eyes on. And I've seen a few in my time, including one old female at Chukwambara, or New Bolton, who, in a fit of pique brought on by being struck by lightning, tore an anvil in half, much to everyone's surprise. It is said that their extraordinary strength, allied to their almost legendary short temper, makes Yumboto the most feared creature in the whole of Africa, although many claim they will never attack a man unless he comes within 3 miles of them. So, with the lions below and this chap barring my way and no other branch within leaping distance, I backed warily away towards the end of the branch, which served only to infuriate him further. The reason for which I soon discovered when I bumped into a second gorilla who'd obviously been sitting between me and the end of the branch throughout, and who was equally obviously my pursuer's mate. In a flash, it became clear to me that he had interpreted my retreat from him as the first step in my campaign to win her favors. Oh, what an amusing notion. Time was running short, however, and so I formulated a ruse. If I could persuade the jealous husband to rush the last few inches towards me, it was possible that the branch would snap under our combined weight, and that I would then use the split second before we fell to employ him as a kind of vaulting horse, executing the simple half somersault that Buffy Spaulding had taught me all those years ago at school, to gain the branch beyond him and above the point where it would probably break. So I turned to Yumboto's mate, slapped her bottom in a lewd sort of way, and planted a kiss full on her lips. This produced the required rush from Yumboto, the branch snapped, and everything went according to plan. As I was making my way back to camp through the trees some 5 minutes later, I heard a sound behind me, and turning, I spotted swinging through the trees towards me Yumboto, plus 30 or 40 of the more agile lions. Now, as luck would have it, I was within half a mile of the Wananga River, and so I set off at full speed in its direction, reasoning that if I could find a convenient creeper straddling its surging waters, I could reach the far bank, thus making further pursuit impossible. I had a head start and managed by brachiating to hold my lead all the way to the river, where to my delight I spotted a solitary creeper suspended from a tree just upstream, across the cascading torrent to the forest the other side. Ideal! Soon I was well on my way towards the far bank, admiring the magnificent view of the raging Wananga River directly beneath. However, I was not halfway across it before I began to realize that my creeper was not all it might be. And looking towards the far end of it, I was astonished to see, staring back at me from a whack-whack tree, the unmistakable square head, yellow-green crisscross markings, and fearful fangs of an anaconda. Well, I must admit, I was astounded. An anaconda in Africa? How it could ever have found its way there from the banks of the Amazon, let alone why it should have been asleep in this strange position, I shall never know, but an anaconda it was, and one that clearly took exception to being demoted to viaduct. So, with one mighty flick of its rippling body, I was sent spinning high, high into the air, where I had to dodge a passing eagle before plunging downwards right onto the bank of the river. Believe it or not, about 10 yards from the point where the rest of the fellows were just tucking into their deviled kidneys. Ah! I must say they were pretty amused to see me appear from nowhere without my shorts, but I took their jesting in good part and even managed to salvage some breakfast. Now, it may seem that I've rather padded out a commonplace enough tale, but the real reason that I've recounted my adventures in perhaps rather unnecessary detail is that exactly the same thing happened to my wife the very next day. Straw. Oh, sorry, microphone.